This is my naughty Bengal Mando. And this old bureau is something that I will turn into a cool piece of furniture that he can enjoy. Did I say he was naughty? As it's usually the case, I do have an idea, but I don't know how I'm gonna execute it. I want to turn this into a functional piece of furniture, something that you can keep in your house, but also want to create a space for my cat to chill and some sort of hideaway. I think this is actually a solid piece of oak, which is nice. I need to take the back off to get access to what I want to do. So what I'm thinking is that I'll create like a cozy nook in here for Mando to sleep in or just do cat things. So I think I'm gonna cut this a bit shorter so I've got enough space for Mando, because this isn't quite big enough for him. And this will be just above the drawer, so I'll still be able to use it. It would be amazing if I could manage to just slide this thing out. I think there might be nails between this one and this one. Definitely. Before anyone says anything, hello beautiful people and welcome to another video. I think this is my favorite project this year. It's completely different from what I had in mind originally, but it's better. This is a solid piece of oak. And now I can cut this off and I don't need to worry about the edges because it's solid wood. This is one of those fun projects when I'm just completely flying by the seat of my pants and I don't know the end result until I get there. I solve all sorts of problems as they come up and it's just fun. This is just another example of a secretary desk or a bureau as we call it in the UK, and people don't want to buy these anymore. They have no use, so I wanted to give it another breath of life and repurpose it and make it cool and useful. This piece of oak that I'm cleaning originally was part of the fold-out desk and it was basically bearing the weight of the fold-out bit, but now it's just going to be a shelf and it won't bear as much weight. And because of that, some of the supporting pieces of wood that I removed, I don't really need to put them back because, as I said, this is not going to bear as much weight. There's some stains on this board and I'll try to use oxalic acid to see if this will take care of them. Spoiler alert, it won't. I don't know what those stains were, but oxalic acid didn't do the trick. But the bottom of the shelf was in a better condition, so I decided to flip it upside down, clean it up, and that was just perfect. And because the bottom side isn't going to be visible, it doesn't really matter. The top piece of wood that I was just sanding had a trim that I didn't like and it didn't really look like it fit the aesthetic of this piece, so I decided to change it. I don't know if you can see that, but this is the only part on this bureau that looks like this and it just looks a bit odd, so I decided to change it to a more modern look, and once I'm done with this project you will see that this makes more sense. I also use my sander to round over the edges just a little bit to make it nice to the touch. And I did the same thing to the corners. Because of what I'm going to do, I don't really need to sand this, but I need to get rid of all the loose bits. And the reason I need to do that is because I need clean and dust-free surface for adhesion. So because I'm not going to use this door, I think I'm going to cut it and I'm going to use it to fill this remaining space, if that makes sense. The stain isn't really coming out. This is the second application. So I actually flipped this upside down and it looks like I can use this side, so I'm just gonna clean it up and do that. But I guess you already knew that. This is going to be covered, so I don't mind putting staples through. I use this offcut to basically cut it so it fits snugly underneath this shelf, and I'm going to cut 2 small pieces and I'm going to put them underneath so it's well supported. Because I'm a professional. And now I'm gonna cut this to put it over here. And this piece that I'm cutting right now is going to be a bit lower than the one that I just put in, but this is on purpose and it will all make sense at the end. According to my calculations, this should be just the exact size that I need. Perfect. This is going to be covered, but I will clean it a little bit. This is all going to be covered, but I'm just going to give it a clean because it's very dusty. And if you want to know what I'm going to cover this with, I guess you just need to watch the whole video. To attach the shelf that I just made to the rest of it, I used some wood glue, put the piece of wood on top, and used an old vise as a clamp. And Bob's your uncle. The back piece definitely needed a refresh, so I gave it a good sanding, and it actually looked pretty nice. And once I was done sanding, I stapled it back on. Alright, let's see what's inside. If you watch my videos, you know that Bombas is a long-term partner of my channel. Every time you buy socks from Bombas, they donate the pair to someone who's experiencing homelessness, and this is something that I really like, and I'm happy to be working with them again. On top of being a brand that does something great for local communities, they make amazing, very comfortable socks with premium materials such as merino wool and extra long staple cotton, which makes the socks super soft, very comfortable, and very durable. It's not just socks, they also make other clothing items and they donate those as well. And thanks to all the purchases that people such as you have made, they've already donated over 150 million items to people in need. They offer 100% happiness guarantee, and if you need to send these back or exchange for whatever reason, you can do it for free. To try these awesome socks for yourself, you can follow the QR code on the screen or the special link that I posted in the description of this video. Thanks again to Bombaz for supporting local communities and YouTube creators like myself. And now back to work. I took everything out and I removed the doors, and as it's often the case, I really didn't know what I was going to do with it. I knew what I wanted to accomplish, but I had no idea how I was gonna get there. My brain works in mysterious ways, and I often simply start working on a project and ideas come to me as I work on it. These are really nice handles and someone put in a lot of work to make them, and I'll definitely use them one day. As it turns out, it's not going to be today and not on this project, and you'll see why. At this point, I was actually thinking that I was going to reuse the handles, so because one of them was cracked and as you can see it's very fragile, I decided to strengthen it a little bit by applying a piece of veneer. This handle is super thin in one place, so this piece of veneer will give it a bit more strength, and I'll definitely use them at some point. I'm not sure if I need to sand this. Let's see if this is just dirt. I was able to remove it partially, there is still a bit left, but let's see if Old English will do the trick. It looks okay, but I think I can do better. This is definitely better. So the inside, other than the fact that it's dirty, it's not even scratched or anything. It just looks old, so I'm gonna give it a good clean with cat cutter. But that's after a cat break. What are you meowing about? That's for you. You don't care, huh? You're just here for snacks. Say hello to your YouTube fans. After a short cut break, I gave it a good clean and I did some more scraping and sanding. I don't really need the support from these pieces, but I'm gonna put some glue on it because it's not gonna hurt. And this is what I was talking about before. There used to be a door that would open, it was attached to this little shelf, but it's not the case anymore, so it doesn't need as much support. And now I'm just using some tape so I don't make a mess, because I'll be using some wood filler. I don't need to do this because this gap is very small, but I'm a professional. And you should definitely use your finger to apply wood filler, because this is what professionals do. And look at this beautiful line. I also use some wood glue and I sanded over it to close this gap between those two pieces, just to make it look nice. Looks like this is a solid piece of oak, which should make it fairly easy to clean it nicely. You probably can't see that, but for this curved bit in the middle, I added a sponge onto my sander just to make sure that it would conform to the shape of it and I would be able to sand it properly. And to clean the bottom of this drawer properly, I took it out. And for a change, it didn't fight me too much. The inside is in a very good condition. It's a bit dirty. I'm going to give it a clean and use Old English, and this should be fine. Actually, after cleaning this, it doesn't need Old English. I'm just going to wax it because there's nothing wrong with it. The color is fine and there's absolutely nothing wrong with it. It's so nice when that happens. So I flipped this upside down because this one, it looks alright, but it's just not as good as the bottom side. I'm gonna use brass nails because I'm fancy AF, and also because it's for Mando, so I want it to be extra special. Which I'm sure that if you have a pet, you can relate to that. See what it looks like. Looks like another cat break. But this project is for Mando, so I guess it makes sense. As always, I just wanted to say a huge thank you to everyone for watching my videos and a special shout out to the channel members. You guys are the best. And if anyone is interested in going the extra mile and supporting what I do, you can find all the links in the description. Thank you. There's nothing wrong with the inside, but I think I want to change the color a little bit because this just makes it look old and dated. And I'm simply going to use some lacquer toner. At this point, I didn't really know what was going to be the final color of this entire piece. And I think if I did, I probably would have done a different color, but this is okay. I also changed the color of the shelf and I put some lacquer on it. And after a short visit from Hugo, my neighbor's cat, I went back to work. If you hear weird noises, that's because there's a storm going on in the UK right now. I hope it won't blow the roof off the workshop, because that would be unfortunate. I thought I was going to just fix the little bits of veneer and then just lacquer the whole thing, but it looks like a lot of it is just loose and not attached properly. So I think I'm just gonna sand it off. It looks like there is pine underneath, which I think will work for my idea. Because the sanding was gonna take forever, I used my electric hand planer and that did the trick. Sometimes I do this when the veneer is too damaged to restore it and I don't want to replace it, and in some cases it turns out that what's underneath is actually pretty nice, but maybe it just doesn't match the rest of the design, so they cover it with veneer. I think this looks way better than the veneer that was on it. It's quite interesting because the way these notches are cut for the hinges, I can actually flip the doors the other way around, and I could actually use them like this. This is the original veneer on the front, and this is what was underneath the veneer on the back. The color is actually much closer to this, but I'm also thinking that I can do some sort of design on the door to, you know, make it a bit more fancy. The other option is that I could get some oak veneer because I don't have enough, and I could just put it on the door. It's not a perfect match, but I don't know. I think that I'm not really happy with either option, and I think I'm gonna choose the difficult path. Oh boy, if I only knew how difficult. I've done it so many times to myself. I guess this is just one of those projects. Let's hope it's worth it. Basically, the idea is that I'm going to create a design across both doors and I'm going to carve it. I would say there is a non-zero chance I'm about to completely destroy this, but I guess we're about to find out. I can either make it look very cool or just completely destroy it. I guess it's no fun unless you take risks. And in this case, it's very risky because I don't know what's underneath. I would say that the potential for screwing this up completely is pretty high. But trust the process, I guess. So there was quite a thick layer of plywood, but that just wasn't enough. I had to go a bit deeper, and unfortunately underneath the plywood there was just a bunch of pieces of pine glued together. As you can see, the way these doors are put together is pretty terrible, and there are huge gaps, which is not what I was hoping for. I'll see what I can do about it, because obviously I'll need to fill these gaps. And because there is veneer, the plywood, and those pieces of pine, those are 3 different types of woods which will absorb stain differently, and that makes executing my idea very difficult. I guess there is no going back at this point, so when life gives you lemons, improvise. This is made from lots of small pieces of pine, and obviously those gaps are just huge. I need to fill them, so that means that I'll need to stain this because otherwise it will just look really bad. This is complicating my plans a little bit, but basically just it will add a lot of more work. What did I get myself into? I think I'm gonna go home and try not to think about the sanding that I need to do tomorrow, because this is not gonna be fun. And possibly take a short crying break as well. I don't remember exactly how long this took, but I think more or less 2 days. And it was a lot of hand sanding.
A few moments later.
After all that fun with sanding and scraping, I could start staining some bits, and I started with the drawer front. I feel like this was meant to be because of the design on the front of the drawer. This just works really well with it, and it looks like it's just part of it. I stained the rest of this bureau slash cat tower, whatever we want to call this, and I was ready to put some oil on it. And by the way, what do we call this thing? Because I don't really know. I'm going to finish this with some hard wax oil. I did just say that. I can't really do anything else until the oil is on, and you'll see why. Keeping you on your toes. I'm not gonna give away all the surprises, you just need to wait till the end. Though, to be fair, it's kind of difficult to give away the surprises if you don't really know what they are. Unless, obviously, it's me doing the voiceover. I do know, but I didn't know then. If it wasn't for the doors and the crappy veneer on the doors, I would have left it completely raw without staining it or applying any finish on it. That was my idea. And I've never done anything like that, but I wanted to do it because my cat was gonna use it, but things come up and you see that the result is completely different. There are some scratches that I didn't notice when I was sanding this, and I can see them a bit more now that the finish is on, but because I was going for this organic, natural carved shape, they actually don't bother me that much, so I'm not gonna do anything about them. And thinking about it now, there's probably gonna be many more scratches on it, given that Mando is going to use this. So now I'm just gonna do many hours of hand sanding, and I'll be back.
$2,000 years later.
The amount of work that I added to myself by doing this was just crazy. I hope it's gonna be worth it. Yes, it will. And a spoiler alert, this turned out so much better than I imagined, and I like it so much. I guess sometimes it's nice when things don't go according to plan, because you come up with a better one. I guess that's what makes my work exciting. You never know what's gonna happen. I left the doors overnight to dry, and I'm gonna put some oil on them. Because this is different wood, it's got slightly different color, so I'm going to see if I can rub a bit of that stain off with an abrasive pad as I'm applying the oil to try and match the color of the oak bits. No, you can't. I mean, this was a good try, but it didn't work. I think this would have worked if the doors were made of oak and I tried to make them a bit lighter. So this will do two different things. It will get the oil into the grain, and also it will remove a little bit of the stain, as you can see, to lighten the color and hopefully match the rest of it. See the difference? I'm gonna finish the second door and I can start doing the fun bits and start putting the whole thing together. Unfortunately, the color isn't quite right, and I can't say I'm terribly surprised because this is a mix of different woods. This is kind of to be expected. I do have a plan B. This is black lacquer toner, and I'm hoping that this will allow me to darken this a bit and match the doors. And I'm happy to say that it did work, and it actually worked very well. I guess I shouldn't be surprised. I'm a professional after all. Now I can quickly clean the hinges and I can put the whole thing together. I didn't show it because the video is pretty long anyway, but the old holes on the doors on the inside, I use black repair wax to fill them in. Because of this organic shape, I'm thinking that this might work quite well. I think they look pretty awesome, if I say so myself. So this is completely not what I wanted to do. It's quite the opposite of my original plan, but I absolutely love this and I think it looks amazing. And once I'm done with whatever else I've got planned for this, I think the contrast is gonna be just spot on. You might be thinking, what about the sides? That looks pretty ugly. And here's the plan, because this is for my cat Mando, and Mando, being a cat, he likes to scratch things. This is a scratchy fabric for cats, and it's got adhesive on the back, and I'm gonna put it on the side, so he's got plenty of room to put his claws in. I think that the color match is pretty good, because I actually got a different fabric, which was like beige, but it wouldn't work with the black, so I think this is spot on. I guess you can argue about it, because any color works with black, but I just didn't like it. This is actually very easy to work with. It probably took me like 30 minutes to do both sides. Absolutely perfect. You can't tell that there is a seam. You probably can because you saw me doing it, but you wouldn't be able to see it if you didn't know. This is my favorite part of each project, when my vision is coming together, even if I only had a concept of a vision, but you know what I mean. I also applied some beeswax to the back and it was looking good. Once I was done waxing the back, I used the same scratchy fabric around the opening just to finish it nicely, and I was ready for the next step. Maybe it's just me, but there's something about black color that makes things look expensive and classy. So the project is pretty much done. The only thing left is to create cozy space for Mando to chill in, and that's what this opening is for. And I've been thinking about how to do it. I found this at the local supermarket, and this looks really cool, and I think this white fake fur will contrast really nicely with this black color. And on top of it, this is super soft and very cozy, and I think it will just look great. I got really lucky because this was very affordable, and this is a lot of fabric, so I've got plenty to work with. And the other cool thing about it is that it comes with a pillowcase, which I can make a cushion out of, so I can put this inside and Mando can lie on this. And I don't need to make one. I also think that because of this pattern or design, I'll be able to hide staples. What do you think? In my opinion, this fabric contrasting with this black just makes it look so cool. I'm using these bamboo sticks, so this is perfectly straight. A little bit of stapling, and a little bit of cutting and measuring, and Bob's your uncle. And I've got a very cool looking, very cozy interior for my cat Mando. It's actually pretty funny, but the pillowcase was the perfect size. I didn't even need to cut it, and it was thick enough that when I folded it in half, it was enough, and I didn't need to put anything inside. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Subscribe if you haven't for more content like this. Thanks to Bombards for sponsoring my video again. The link is in the description, and I'll see you in the next one.